What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. And I know everybody done heard about the P. Diddy shit, and this ain't gonna be one of them ones where we just debating and discussing what the hell is going on with Diddy. We all know what's going on with Diddy. It's been all over the news and all that good shit. But like we always do on this channel, we gonna go a little deeper than just being on top of the surface. You know what I mean? Tonight we're gonna go over a little bit more about Diddy and how he got to where he got to be and about what Hollywood really is. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't realize that Hollywood is a creation and it's gatekept. It ain't by chance that Diddy is a billionaire, nor is it by chance that Diddy has been getting away with all this shit that he's been doing for decades. You know what I mean? For decades, this man's worth had billions of dollars, right? Millions, billions, the whole nine. But yet, the man, all that money can't get him out of jail now, right? They referring to Diddy almost like an Epstein now. They synonymous with Epstein, right? So tonight's video, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get a little deeper into all those pieces of the equation. And like always, we're gonna debate this in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. You know what I mean? Tell me what you thinking right there. If you see that I'm off, let me know. But if I'm on point, let me know that as well. So before we get into the video, make sure y'all hit the like if y'all is fucking with the video. If you ain't subbed up. But nonetheless, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, you're not gonna get the notification. What they're gonna do, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna come on live and you're gonna see me live, and that's how y'all gonna get it. And come in the building right now. And see, y'all gotta, I want y'all to understand something, right? When you become amongst the elite, when you become one of them, you got to understand something. How Kendrick Lamar said, they not like us. They not like us. If y'all don't understand that words are spells, if that's a chant, and when you keep saying, they not like us, sounding like a robot, because it sounds like a robotic chant. It's a chant. Words are spells. Reading between the lines. And what you better understand, that's not like us is them. Once those celebrities go through that door, they not like us. They not like us, man. They are not like us. And we are not like them. There's a line drawn in the sand. Stop feeling sorry for million and billionaires that don't feel sorry for you. Poor people kiss rich people asses while rich people don't give a fuck about your feelings. Rich people don't care about you. They don't care about your circumstances. They don't care about your nana's funeral. They don't care about your children's education. They don't care about nothing. If your mama and your grandmama died right now, P. Diddy not looking at, he not sitting on your post. These niggas won't even follow you back on Instagram. I think I gotta be one of the realest celebs.
So what is this door that he's talking about right here? What is the door that this man is talking about that you got to go through in order to reach these levels right here? You know, a lot of people may think that you could just get there by your talents, right? That your talents is going to get you there. But I would beg to differ on that any day of the week. Your talents ain't going to get you there. You ain't going to just make millions and billions of dollars just strictly off the strength of your talents, right? So let's break down how Hollywood originated. And the video we're gonna get into next is a documentary done by a dude that used to be a stunt double in the Hollywood industry, and then he started waking up and realizing what was really going on. This is a very controversial video right here. So once again, I need y'all feedback. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. But without further ado, we're gonna get into it.
So I never really thought about the government influencing our content or our stories. Could they be influencing our story and our content? Like, these are real questions that I never had asked myself. I just did the jobs. I went to work. I did my job. I did whatever was asked. and went home. Never thought about this stuff. So I was like, I don't really know anybody that can answer these questions. And I reached out to this guy who I'd been watching online. His name was Kevin Shipp. And for those of you who don't know who Kevin Shipp is, he's a CIA whistleblower. He worked in counterintelligence, and he served in many capacities in his tenure at the CIA.
This is the big picture, an official television report to the nation from the United States Army.
It was an OSS memo, the precursor to the CIA, where they were doing a study of the use of motion pictures in America as a means of psychological warfare. So it goes all the way back to pre-1947, when U.S. intelligence was using motion pictures to alter the thinking of Americans in the United States.
Did y'all hear that though? He said this goes back to 1947 when the CIA was using motion pictures. Now think back then, this is after the radio's been created and they realizing what the power is and how this can be used on the masses right here. And nowadays we don't even question, we don't even question the sources of our information or none of that shit. We don't even question the movies, the entertainment industry. All we do is consume this content. We consume like motherfucking sheep, or at least the majority. I mean, if y'all probably tapped into this, you probably ain't no sheep, neither am I, right? But nonetheless, this runs real deep, and he about to break this down. So let me jump back in here real quick.
The morale of our troops is high. The laughter, music, and general entertainment, which comes out of a single small package like this one, have helped to build that morale.
The CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movies, and the population believes it.
Taxes, the axis.
This document right here is a FOIA document. Anybody in America, anybody can request this. It's Freedom of Information Act. And in the 40s, they were telling you they controlled the radio stations. They controlled most of the mainstream media. They're telling you right here that motion pictures are used as psychological warfare. Why would they stop doing it?
At no time has the CIA engaged in any political activity or any intelligence activity. It was not approved at the highest level.
Alan Dulles groomed and recruited Ian Fleming, and Dulles and the CIA actually helped Fleming write his books and paint the CIA in a favorable light. And they also, Dulles helped produce Thunderball to make the CIA and agents look like honorable, cool people. The CIA actually helped him write the books and write the script for that movie. And then the president of MPAA was actually providing intelligence to the CIA as an operative in that position in Hollywood.
Mr. Fleming, in your book, there's a great amount of detail. Is this detail based on personal experience? Do you make it up? Where does it come from?
Well, I can say it's 90% from personal experience, really. Of course, if I started sticking too close to the true espionage work of today, I should be in trouble with the Official Secrets Act in England, even supposing I had access to information.
What's that shit say? Hold up right quick. It says,
There's no question about the fact.
hold up, what that say? So it says, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false right there. That's crazy. So they in control of the narrative, right? They in control of the storyline that you know and you understand. Life as you know it, basically, right? That's how that is.
Mockingbird is real. It started out paying journalists in major media, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, to print fake stories that the CIA wanted in the press and fake interviews. This was revealed in the Church Committee.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA contributed to a major circulation American journal? We do have people who submit pieces to other American journals.
And of course, then the CIA destroyed the rest of the files, which is what they do. George H.W. Bush came out and finally made the statement about Mockingbird. Well, we're going to officially stop the Mockingbird program. The CIA will no longer pay journalists to write stories. From now on, the program is voluntary, which means Mockingbird continues today. When's the last time you've seen a mainstream media outlet do a serious investigative report on the actions of the CIA?
Never.
There's a reason for that.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. And we're looking at that very carefully. Well, yeah, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now. He runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
All they doing is reading off a fucking script, a narrative that's been printed out and painted in the news, right? This is all that these motherfuckers is doing. All they doing is reading the script. Every state across the board, they telling you the story that they want you to know.
To our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous 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 to our democracy.
Oh, that's right. Extremely dangerous. There is
something about the way the CIA has been functioning that is casting a shadow on our historic position of freedom, and I feel we need to correct it.
Senator Moynihan proposed a bill to dismantle the CIA.
That wasn't going to happen, though. By no means would that happen.
Introduced it twice. The second time was 1995. Ironically, 1 year later in 1996, the CIA established the Entertainment Liaison Office, which was specifically penetrated into Hollywood, and Chase Brandon was actually co-wrote scripts. For example, The Recruit.
Look for high horsepower, high energy, very competitive people who are driven by patriotism and a sense of wanting to serve a greater cause.
I recruit you. Would I have to kill anyone? Would you like to?
So the CIA was and is in Hollywood, was and is contributing to Hollywood productions and that manipulation.
The Recruit. Nothing is what it seems.
As I started to wake up, I never actually considered that the CIA had an office in Hollywood. And I'm like, well, I see this, I see that. And I started putting feelers out, like, does anybody else see this stuff? And not many people were awake. But the one person that I reached out to is an old colleague of mine, a friend of mine named Brad Martin. And Brad...
Ain't that a bitch, though? Not many people are awake, though. You know what I mean? That's one of them words that be getting used all over the board, right? Awake. People don't realize, awake means conscious, aware of something, you know what I mean? And most people, really, they ain't, though, nor do they care to be, though, right? They want the easy way. They want the information fed to them, and they want to go along to get along. But this is about to get real deep, though. What I've been showing you right now ain't even touched the surface. It's just the buildup to show you that the CIA has had their hand, and the CIA is a government, is outside of the government entity, right? It's one of the biggest biggest branches, and how big of a hand they've had in creating the Hollywood narrative. Majority of the people behind it, and I ain't gonna break it down. I'm gonna let him break it down before I give up spoiler alert and shit.
Had similar careers. We worked our way up through the business together. And I'm like, hey, Brad, you've seen this? You've seen that? He's like, yeah, for sure. And so that gave me strength. That gave me like, okay, well, I'm not alone in this deal. And I'm going to keep looking.
Let me just say this. Brad's one of the greatest stuntmen I've ever met. Probably the best.
I'm a very physically creative person. I've been doing action for movies for 26, 27 years. I excelled at the action aspect of it, at the physical aspects of doing the fights and doing the gymnastics and doing the falls and doing the diving. I trained really hard to become one of the top stuntmen in the business. I started becoming a fight coordinator, and then a stunt coordinator, and then an action director. Very few people have ever gotten to where I've gotten to. I'm super proud of what I do. I mean, I had a very idealistic view of the movie business, and I've been disillusioned a few times. It feels very much like there's an agenda in every movie. I realized that it was more of a machine, and it was more of they just needed content to put out there for the masses.
Did y'all hear that? This man is working in Hollywood. He's a stunt professional, one of the best stunt professionals. And this man just said he's realizing that there's an agenda behind all these movies. And if you ever notice behind movies you watch, there's a storyline, right? What is that storyline telling you? What is it feeding you? What is the content that you are really consuming? What is it doing for you? And what is the agenda?
Stopped really watching TV. I stopped really watching movies. And one of the reasons why I stopped watching movies is I got into my research and what's going on in the world right now, and all the corruptness and all of the plot twists of reality. And I started realizing that reality is 20 times more interesting than Hollywood. I mean, I was a Hollywood buff. I loved all of those movies, but now they're meaningless, because I know what's going on right now actually has purpose, it has a meaning, and there are consequences. And once the story is told on what's happening in the world right now, and all of the powers that be battling each other, it will be the greatest story ever told.
Did y'all hear what he said, though? He said the powers that be that are battling each other. A lot of people don't even realize that there's a battle going on right now. And if you get biblical, the Bible itself says the war that we're battling right now isn't a physical war, though. It's a battle amongst wickedness in high places. You know what I mean? It's a spiritual battle. And when we talk about wickedness in high places, where are the high places, right? The government, the entertainment industry, places where the money trail, where that's at. That's the place where the corruption and the wickedness is. And this is where the battle is being waged. It's a spiritual battle, though. Good versus evil, you could say.
Like, for instance, I saw something on History Channel talking about how the CIA helped Disney buy all the swampland in Florida. Well, why on earth would they do that?
His lawyers in charge of purchasing the parcels had served in military intelligence during World War II and knew how to keep a secret. And they used several different companies, none with Disney's name, to acquire the properties.
Now I go down this rabbit hole of what does the CIA have to do with Hollywood, or at least with Disney? Washington, D.C. is definitely in Hollywood. I have seen documents of the DOD and the CIA writing to the studio heads, guiding them in certain fashion. There's a lot of things that people talk about that are conspiracy theory, but there's some things that ring true with me. It's like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Another program developed by the CIA after World War II was called Operation Paperclip. It's been depicted in many movies, including Disney's Marvel series.
This Operation Paperclip after World War II, Shield recruited German scientists with strategic value.
All I could have is that cause.
You see that? You see how they just put it in a motherfucker's face, though? They put that shit out there. It's like watching The Simpsons, right? They put it out there. It's like a law that they have to do. They gotta tell us, but we be so dumb and so motherfucking blind to see that the motherfucking they showing us right in front of our face what they doing to us, or they showing us forewarnings of what they're gonna do to us. And this is crazy. This is where this shit really get deep, though, right here. All that other shit before this was just like a warm up to lay the groundwork. This is when it's really gonna start getting good. I promise you.
Operation Paperclip, and this is something people need to know because it has been so covered up and mocked and berated and claimed to be a conspiracy theory. And by the way, the term labeling people as conspiracy theorists was invented by the CIA.
Did y'all hear that? Look at that shit. Conspiracy theory, conspiracy itself was a terminology created by the CIA itself to be dismissive of information. The aim of this dispatch is to provide material for countering and discrediting the claim of the conspiracy theorists so as to inhibit the circulation of such claims. That's like how they used to talk about with the UFOs and shit like that. Try to say, oh, no, that. And here we are, 2024 going 2025, and here they've admitted the UFOs and all kinds of shit. But before, we would have just been conspiracy theorists, though. That's crazy.
And over the JFK assassination, they invented that word as a way to shut down any scrutiny or just critical investigation of what they were doing. So they started that whole ball rolling. In terms of Operation Paperclip, it is documented. There's absolutely no question about it. Alan Dulles, CIA director, was an associate of Heinrich Himmler of the Third Reich. So what Dulles proceeded to do when the Third Reich was brought down was he secretly brought all of the top Nazi scientists into the U.S. He falsified their files that he gave to Harry Truman, making them look like.
And we know this, right? We know at the end of this World War, after the Nazis fell, all of their top scientists, all of everything came over here to the U.S. and they got immunity. They got new names, they got new identities in order to help further the U.S. right here. And remember, now the Nazis believe me, they were keyed in on some shit. They, as much as motherfuckers hate the Nazis, I hate the Nazis. These motherfuckers was really on a spiritual quest. If you do your due diligence and understand,
for no war crimes. They brought these Nazi scientists into the CIA to work for the CIA, and that includes the human experiments they conducted on Jewish men, women, and children, and the psychological studies that these Nazi scientists had done. The CIA was using their expertise for these programs through Operation Paperclip, and this was Nazi, much of it occult beliefs that the CIA adopted and actually put these people on their payroll.
One of the programs that came.
I hope y'all ain't missing this right here. I hope y'all catching this right here, that the CIA put these motherfucking Nazis on the payroll right here. They took their greatest scientists, their greatest motherfucking educators, brought them over here and put them on the payroll.
Of Operation Paperclip was MKUltra. Now, MKUltra was a very complex program that dealt with human experiments and mind manipulation.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
Now, this is what they done did to Kanye West. Kanye West is a victim of MKUltra. Motherfucking Lady Gaga, motherfucking Katy Perry, a lot of these motherfucking people, celebrities, are MKUltra, but Kanye for sure.
MKUltra came out as an actual program of mind control using mental, physical, and sexual abuse and psychotropic drugs.
Lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD.
It was one of the first times that anybody had run into a powerful drug that was different than anything else that they knew anything about.
A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans.
At Ravenscraig, Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and electric shock treatments than any researchers in the MKUltra project dared. His aim was to wipe the mind clean. Then he would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition as many as 250,000 times. This was called psychic driving.
He would give the patient intensive electric treatment. He would attempt to implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
Now, to a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
Brainwashing.
Yes.
You're doing fine. Just try to describe them.
Oh, you don't know. You want to give yourself such.
That motherfucker's high as shit.
I can feel inside.
Yeah, sorry, look, she been disconnected. LSD, this motherfucker MKUltra, then disconnected her from her internal state, that conscious. She don't even know what the fuck is going on. So if she's not in control of herself, who's in control of her? That's the whole aim of this shit right here, is to be in control. Control is the aim.
Nobody explained it to me. Nobody ever asked me if I was willing to do it or anything.
They put me on sleep treatment. And they kept you asleep for 23 days. And while I was asleep, they were shocking the heck out of me with electric shocks and playing tapes.
It was really like a concentration camp.
I don't feel that. You look that way. Nothing for you to watch here, but you're going to talk to me as we go along.
They couldn't go any further because CIA Director Richard Helms destroyed all the CIA's MKUltra documents, and they had to rely on coached witnesses. So they were never able to dig even deeper. What they got was bad enough. It was never terminated. There's no evidence that it was ever terminated. No documents, no nothing, and not even an admission by the CIA that it's been terminated.
How do you feel?
I'm feeling better, thank you.
Feeling better? Are you sleeping well?
This shit ain't never went away. This is still, MKUltra is still used today in Hollywood at large, because what they do, you just seen right there, they wipe the slate clean. Once again, like Kanye West, this shit still goes on. This is just the beginning of when they were doing the tests on there. Remember, the scientists that started this came from Nazi Germany, though.
Yes, I'm feeling better now.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in then looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
So MKUltra was one of the hardest programs for me to wrap my head around, because it's a lot of subset programs. And I was really surprised that Brad Martin knew about MKUltra.
People think that research people are crazy for talking about MKUltra, mind control. Even if they acknowledge that that existed, they go, oh, well, that ended in the 70s. That's a crock of shit.
The world's only hope of stopping a sinister assassination plot.
The movie that I did involving that topic was Zoolander.
The fashion industry has been behind every major political assassination over the last 200 years.
I mean, at the time, I was making a comedy and I had no idea what I was involved with. But now looking back on the movie, I'm blown away at just the propaganda. In a movie like Zoolander, when they're showing you that they're controlling Derek Zoolander's mind through mind control, you realize that they're trying to desensitize you and to make you think that what you're watching is fiction because it's in a comedy.
Like a mass MKUltra. Their purpose is to capture the minds of the people and feed them false history. The CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movies, and the population believes it.
Believes it.
All right, so look, here's the deal. They have been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment.
Entertainment.
To entertain.
Entertain.
What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what?
Hold up. So entertain means to bind or hold, right? To keep hold or maintain in the mind is the definition of entertainment.
An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient Druids, back in the day, used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi's or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population.
Wow, y'all heard that shit right there? Hold up, let me hear that once more. I want to hear about the Zoolander shit. I ain't never watched that movie, but let me see this Hollywood shit again. But let me hear that piece one more time real quick. Where did it go? Let me hear that again.
Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient Druids back in the day used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi's or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population. We'll cut to today. What do we have in our houses? We have these black boxes. What are they called? TVs. But if you stop and you say the word television,
you got a TV. What does the TV do? It tells a vision. Tells a vision. Tells a vision.
And when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels. And when you turn on those channels, what's on those channels? Programming. They are programming you. They've been programming your whole life. You don't even know it. They do it with your music.
Motherfuckers don't even know it. You've been getting programmed your whole motherfucking life and you don't even realize it. Whole motherfucking life you've been getting programmed. Every time you turn that music on, you're getting programmed. Every time you turn that TV on, you're getting systematically programmed with somebody's agenda, though. You don't even realize it, nor do I, right? It's not until you get aware of this situation. And this right here get you aware real quick.
Do it with your TV, they do it with your movies, they do it with your games. They have been programming us and programming you since you were little, and you don't even know it because you don't even question.
What? Truth. Facts.
Starting in 1900, we entered a previously unimaginable time of modern technology. Advances that allowed the rulers of this world to construct and direct our stories in ways we previously never imagined. As a result, new techniques to control the population were realized. These are the people from the companies that we have trusted to deliver us our news and tell our stories. This has always been about controlling what we as the population think and hear. They help create our culture and influence our society. We as citizens only trust them because as a society, we think that the gatekeepers have our best interests in mind.
The dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job. That is our job. That is our job. Our job.
That bitch had a malfunction right there. She malfunctioned right there. That's her job, right? You as the newscaster, right? That's your job to narrate what the truth is.
Researching, I found that most of the early communication companies were developed for shipping or aviation. And a lot of the men that started these companies were commissioned by the military during World War I and World War II. Many of these men worked for the Army and Navy intelligence services, along with the OSS, which we know became the CIA. There were many examples of these men becoming the heads or founders of some of the biggest motion picture and media companies before and after their government or military service.
Did y'all just hear that, though? The founder of CBS, all these motherfuckers that owned all these were part of this motherfucking OSS, which turned into the CIA. They became the founders of these broadcasting channels right here. They became the founders, the biggest money makers right here. That's how deep this shit goes. Let's play that back one more time, just so y'all catch that. I don't want y'all to miss that piece right there. That's a big piece of the equation.
Found that most of the early communication companies were developed for shipping or aviation. And a lot of the men that started these companies were commissioned by the military during World War I and World War II. Many of these men worked for the Army and Navy intelligence services, along with the OSS, which we know became the CIA. There were many examples of these men becoming the heads or founders of some of the biggest motion picture and media companies before and after their government or military service. I wanted to know how many of the media companies in today's world connected back to Washington. So I started looking. It was like a family tree. The connections between our government personnel and the media corporations was unbelievable. Google, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, CNN, ABC. So what would happen if all these companies had the same political ideology or agenda? We as this population like to hear people confirm our confirmation biases. We like to hear people tell us that we're right. We don't like to be wrong. And we believe that the people on the media and the people that we're listening to have our best interests in mind. The problem is what if they don't? So if you stop and think about it, they can place any agenda on the population that they choose.
I think that Hollywood is teaching bad morals to the youth of this country, as well as adults. Desensitizing of violence to the masses. You can't deny that. My kids have seen so many people get killed in very violent ways.
3 times as much gun violence now.
And the sex that's in PG-13 movies.
Why?
Every Disney movie.
You're right about that though, because a motherfucker nowadays, you can open your Instagram up first thing in the morning and you're gonna see motherfucker getting shot, you're gonna see motherfucker getting killed, you're gonna see all kinds of shit. And see, I'm old enough to remember before there was internet, right? Before the internet, and when the internet first started, like you had to go to certain websites like rotten.com and shit like that to go see these like gruesome shit. But now the shit's just normal right here. You know what I mean? Motherfucking kids, they just play all the games that shoot, kill, and destroy. You know, motherfuckers is super desensitized when it comes to the price of a human life. You know what I mean? Motherfucker will be quick to toe tag, kill some shit. You know what I mean? And not even think 2 times about it, but yet motherfucking the human life should have some kind of value to it, but they've been desensitized.
There's a major character, usually a parent, that gets killed. Trauma to the child. Why? It's so horrible. What a bad story. Why do you need to start a story with a parent dying? Always. It's so sad.
Under MKUltra, they experimented on children. We were even taught this in psychophysiology program that if you get to a child between ages 1 and 6 or 1 or 8, especially with sexual abuse or sexual trauma, you will split their personality and they will be imprinted the rest of their life. And many times that results in split personalities and dissociative behavior and other things.
Now, what he's talking about right there is some real shit. Now, that's the shit that the Hollywood motherfuckers be doing, though. That's why you always be hearing about like the Pizzagate, and you hear like Diddy with the little boys and other Hollywood people with the boys, because that's what they do. I'll let Sloan break this shit down. If y'all don't know who Sloan Bella is, she's a psychic, but she's also very spiritual in her understandings and shit. And she has a video right here. She has one on Kanye West that's kind of cold too, but she breaks that shit down in this
sexual abuse, along with Brian Singer and the rest of these are people that 2 decades ago, when Brian Peck was going to lady, I can't history, and everybody just falls in line. So we have Dan Schneider, Kate Collins Rector with Charlie DiCaprio was on that show that Alan Thicke was the food. Bring the abuse out front in public through entertainment, royalty, politics, as Venus in Aquarius. Venus is starting a new family. Find anything wrong with it? So a lot of these families that are intergenerational reincarnation, Jupiter on the horn about Humphrey Bogart, who tells us but you're 10. So dues are paid by 10-year-old little boys to people like Brian Peck, who insert themselves in people's lives, which was apparently the case. And this is very standard MO for pedophiles. So we have Drake Bell, who at risk to everything about him, his career, his friends, his family, is speaking, separating him from people that cared about him. The judge and what they do. Think about Harvey Weinstein. Think about how they operate through terrorism, mental stalking, physical elite occult. They're not elite, they're garbage. But these occult stars that use sodomy ritual, think P. Diddy, okay? Think him, think Jay-Z, think Russell Simmons. Think about these people and what they do. Think about Harvey Weinstein. Think about how they operate through terrorism, mental stalking, physical threats, blackmail, sodomy ritual, sodomy ritual, sodomy ritual. It's a way of putting spores in another person's energy. Start researching it occultic wise, metaphysically. They put the spores up there. They're able to harness your energy. And let's look at this in a different way. So let's take this slightly differently with Dan Schneider and Brian Peck and even Drake Bell. So somebody like, and then I'm going to add Brad Renfro to it.
So if y'all don't know, she's talking about the motherfucker that's part of Nickelodeon. If y'all didn't know, the dude in Nickelodeon, they was doing some straight weird pedophile, all kinds of shit for many years. And it's just like with Diddy, right? Like, you know, it's not by accident that this shit just went under the radar, then nobody busts them, and then that shit. No, all these motherfuckers in Hollywood, believe me, like we was talking about, go through that door right there. They like she's saying, they practice in occult rituals. If you don't know what an occult ritual is, I encourage you to Google that and get yourself familiar with that, because that goes back to World War II, like we were watching in the documentary right there with the Nazis and what they were trying to do. The Nazis are practice occult rituals and things that are what a lot of people would deem pagan. And what they do with these kids right here is they're trying to pull their energy out. And you just heard another one that, you know, at certain ages, they're the most, you know what I mean? It's nasty as a motherfucker, but it really goes on though.
He succumbed to the drug addiction. It doesn't look like Drake Bell did. So what happens is when these perpetrators continue to perpetrate, they feel shame and guilt after, because the human energy of them comes in. But while they are acting in a non-human way to another person and brutalizing them, they are out of body. There is energy coming into them and easily attachable to them because it's a lower vibration. Your body is a temple. When you defile another temple, you lower your vibration. So what happens is they continue to do it to try to get out of how they feel, and they keep attracting more energy to them. Then people like Brad end up doing drugs and alcohol, which opens the doorways for that. And eventually they end up passing out of this energy because they can no longer stand it. Drake Bell talks about how his father was alienated, how the mother was tricked. I'm going to word it slightly different. It's his experience, but I'm going to say entertainment industry, okay, especially in the logically connected to your child and wants to caretake them, you should know that's a red flag. That is a red flag, especially in the entertainment industry, okay, especially in the entertainment industry. Now, I looked up Drake Bell's chart.
Well,
What they're doing. Anyway, and I'm being serious when I say that. Understand what you're dealing with is inhabit his husk. It's John Gainwasey.
So that's the end of that breakdown right there. But that's some real shit out there.
These occult topics are being introduced to our kids, and most parents aren't even aware of it. So the biggest surge with this occult type material took place in the late 60s and the early 70s with movies like The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. And coincidentally, this same time period, it parallels the rise of the Church of Satan in Los Angeles, and it was founded by a guy named Anton LaVey.
When I was a police officer, we had cases of satanic cults right in Arlington, Virginia. Those have been around for decades. They're in the high schools, they're in the colleges, they're in the government, and they're in Hollywood.
meeting people like Sammy Davis and that kind of shit. Sammy told me he worshiped the devil. Sammy was like, you know, Satan is as powerful as God. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, why do you think there's so much anger in the world and killing and murder and Satan? And he saw my reaction to it, and he kind of lightened up on it. And he was like, the Dan Tannett is dark, and it's the candles on the table and Sammy's face over the candle. You know, Satan is as powerful as God.
Now look at this, Sammy Davis Jr. right here, Anton LaVey, the pinnacle. And you know, a lot of people will get fooled into believing that Lucifer is the light bringer or the snake that Adam and Eve, you know, were deceived by, actually brought knowledge. That's the lie. That's the deception. You ever heard the saying, the devil is a lie? That's the lie that a lot of people buy into. And in Hollywood, it's easy because you got to think about, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the story of when Jesus was tempted by the devil, when the devil took Jesus up and he showed him all the multitude of kingdoms and he showed him all the riches. And he said, you know, you could have all these. All you need to do is bow to me. And Jesus told the devil, thou shalt not tempt God. You shall not tempt God. At the end of the day, you know, a lot of people don't realize you sell your soul and you sell yourself when you go against your morals or your principle or what your intuition deems is right. Your God-given intuition knows what's right and wrong when you come out that womb, in my opinion. And when you get into Hollywood, you got to do some strange things for some change. So, you know, ain't no way Diddy just came through that door, made all that. He's been doing a lot of shit that definitely ain't right in front of God's eyes by no means. But yet, that's brother love, though, right? That's brother love right there. He black excellence. Let him tell it. But yet, behind closed doors, the man's foul and dirty and nasty. And a lot of the motherfuckers in Hollywood, are nasty, foul, and they bow to Lucifer. Though that's who they behind closed doors. That's who they worship.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god or to a mother goddess or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses.
Michael Aquino was a high-level officer in the National Security Agency. He was and is, you'll see him today, a practicing Satanist. He created the Satanic Temple of Set, which he still runs. He was a high-level NSA officer. He's a member of the association I used to be in, the Association of Former Intelligence Officers, AFIO. He's a member of that. He's plugged in big time to the intelligence community. And he wrote a paper called Mind War. And Mind War was about psychological operations against populations, including the domestic population.
Did y'all hear that, though? The mind war, though. This is where the motherfucking battlefield is upstairs. The battlefield ain't in front of you. Ain't a motherfucker punching you, kicking you, trying to harm you all the time. The real war is being waged on you spiritually through the shit that you consume daily, through all the actions and the things that you do and you're persuaded to do. The battlefield, the war is going on upstairs. You got to be aware. You got to keep that third eye
open. Satanist techniques and tools.
Aquino was first involved in MKUltra operations during the Vietnam War as part of the Phoenix program.
Well, first, I've been involved in intelligence and psychological operations for about 40 years in all levels of it across the intelligence community.
You are a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Correct.
Now, and how does the Army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
The Army has known about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968.
So this man's in the motherfucking Army. He's a high-level ranking officer, but yet he's admitting that that's who he worships. So you'll notice a lot of rich people, they call themselves being agnostic, right? And agnostic means that they don't believe in God, but they recognize there's a higher power, right? They don't recognize that Jesus is the Son of God or anything like that. They don't put a name on it. But those are the ones that probably bow before Baphomet or Lucifer or something of that nature right there, because once again, we know that the battle is a spiritual battle and we are fighting against spiritual practices and wickedness in higher realms and higher areas and higher places. And you got to think, the devil himself in the Bible is labeled as being the prince of the air. And what comes through the air, right? The TV channels, the TV reception, the Wi-Fi, the music, all that shit. He is the prince of the air, though. Straight up.
The Army has paid very little attention to it, the same as it would to anybody who was, say, a follower of Hinduism or of Buddhism or any other slightly unusual religion today. He was occupied a position at the Presidio, which was a training facility for the U.S. government, and it was uncovered that he was running a pedophile ring. I think 50 kids came out and fingered him as the guy that had done.
Now, we just seen from Sloan Bellet, all right? The reason they do this weird pedophile shit is because it's a ritual, occult ritual, and they're trying to harness the energy of the young child being, you know, in front of God's eyes, right? You know, God, Jesus said, come as you are, but, you know, be like the child, right? Now, a child is one of the most innocent and pure things you can do, and to defile or harm a child is one of the nastiest things you can do in front of God's eyes. And that's why they do that right there, because the God that they serve off the rip right there, he endorses that to them, they getting power from that right there. They're getting energy from that right there. But at the end of the day, they got to meet their maker. We know how the story ends, right?
Sexual acts on them as children. It went to trial. He walked from the trial successfully because he had a good attorney, despite the fact that there were multiple witnesses that said Aquino, through satanic rituals, had abused them as children. There's no question that he's a practicing Satanist. Just watch any one of his interviews.
On this altar is one of a number of daggers, which we may use in our rituals. This one happened to belong to the commanding general of the most elite unit of Germany's infamous SS, which was concerned with black magic and occultism research in general. Anything that it could find, it had to do.
Now, we were just talking about this with the World War II with the Nazis right there. They were very occultic. That's what they did. And for him to have that dagger, be a Satanist and be a pedophile right here, he's practicing these occult rituals that the Nazis were practicing, and they were trying to, you know, ultimately figure out more and more ways to get that power. And, you know, are the Jews God's chosen people? Is that why he was trying to eliminate so many off this earth? You know, I don't know, but that could be a big piece of the equation.
With the origins of the human race, destiny of humanity.
The perverted view of the occult held by Heinrich Himmler was of an evil magic that could help create a new master race. Wewelsburg Castle is where he performed his ceremonies.
I have been to the Wewelsburg, which still preserves Heinrich Himmler's ritual chambers to this day. And I've conducted a black magical ritual in the so-called Hall of the Dead beneath the Wewelsburg. This particular dagger is inscribed to our comrade in the Leibstandarte Theodor Wisch, Brigadeführer and Major General in the Waffen-SS. And on its blade, it bears the inscription, Mein Ehre heißt Treu, or my honor shall be known by my faithfulness.
Aquino's thesis stated that enemy populations could be subdued by inflicting a state of psychological terror and feelings of imminent destruction. He discusses the use of psychotronic weapons and electromagnetic weapons that influence the mind. By extremely low frequency signals, piggybacked on broadcasts of radio, TV, or microwave communications in order to influence and manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the target population.
Think about that right there. He said radio waves and things of that go on the back of a broadcast right there. Now think about what music does to you. Think about how music and TV shows and shit make you feel, and low frequencies that you're not even picking up are being dialed into, though. You know what I mean? Even they say with some of the music, some of the records, you know, they do occultic prayers and stuff over music before they even release it to the population. You know what I mean? And we know a lot of music, right? Especially rap music. You know, it ain't promoting growth. It ain't promoting anything good, though. It's definitely on a lower vibrational frequency, even though the beats sound hard as fuck, though, right?
These ongoing MKUltra operations are functioning as a counterinsurgency and infiltration operation aimed at destabilizing the United States and other industrialized nations.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment, at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
Laurel Canyon was the epitome of the summer of love. I mean, we saw the possibility of a way we could live.
It's odd because in Laurel Canyon, so many of the soon-to-be stars there, their parents were in either the military-industrial complex or intelligence or the Pentagon. In Frank Zappa's case, his dad is working at Edgewood Arsenal, where they were doing biochem studies, psychotropic, and exposing U.S. troops to VX nerve gas and other things. The family kept gas masks in their house. He grew up with that in case there was an accident. And Edgewood Arsenal was doing very similar related MKUltra projects on U.S. troops. The Gulf of Tonkin is another prime example. The commander of the Gulf Fleet in the Gulf of Tonkin, his son was Jim Morrison. They claimed the USS Maddox was attacked by Vietnamese vessels. It was never attacked. As a matter of fact, they put ghost ships on the radar to make it look like they were Vietnamese ships. The Maddox was never attacked. It was an actual, literal false flag to enable the U.S. to declare war on Vietnam.
You know what that sounds like?
Jim Morrison's dad.
It sounds like 9/11 right there. It sounds like how they did 9/11, how they used the so-called bombing or the terrorist takeover of the flights right there to declare war. You know, and what is war? War is one of the biggest money producing motherfucking assets that the government has right there. Especially when you think who makes the money off the wars, the Lockheed Martins, you know, the governments, the whole nine. You know, there's a lot of money in war.
It was involved in the false flag of the Gulf of Tonkin.
After talking to Kevin, I started looking into Laurel Canyon. I drove down Laurel Canyon to Hollywood almost daily when I first moved out there. And I never knew that there was an old Air Force base called Lookout Mountain U.S. Air Force Base at the top of Laurel Canyon. And what's funny is, if you do the history of it, it's owned today by a guy named Jared Leto.
Another tactic developed out of the MKUltra project was the use of compromise and control via honeypots.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
We did quite a study of prostitutes and their behavior. How do you take a woman who is willing to use her body to get money out of a guy to get him to talk about things which are much more important, like state secrets? We learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom. We started to pick up knowledge that could be used in operations.
There would be victims in all of this. As one agency memo says, we have no answer to the moral question.
That's one of the CIA's favorite tactics, are honeypots. And I work with CIA psychologists, and they're dirty.
I always felt that every house should have its own secret panel. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. You lift this up. Mm-hmm. This is a trap door. Opens up and looks into the cave, or what time is called the Wu Grotto. Boy.
They're running blackmail operations where they're getting very well-known government and private industry elite people in compromising positions at the Playboy Mansion, on Epstein's plane, on Orgy Island, and they're photographing them.
And who else are they doing this at Diddy's motherfucking freak-offs right here? Diddy's motherfucking freak-offs. Now, we done seen Kevin Lyles, a well-known record executive. We've already seen him step down, right? I think we're going to see a lot more record executives and people in the industry that hold places step down now that this Diddy shit is unfolding, and now that they know that they've got recordings of these freak offs right here? Because at the end of the day, who's on those freak offs right there? Who's in those videos right there? Who's been doing Meek Mills? Who knows who's in these motherfucking videos right now? I know a whole lot of motherfuckers in this entertainment world right there. Hollywood, they gotta be feeling some kind of way. And we've seen it. Kevin Lyles step down. Is he in the freak offs? We can only guess, right? We can only guess.
And after that, it's like Congressman so-and-so or CEO so-and-so. I wouldn't bring that up if I was you, because we got photographs of you with a 14-year-old girl on Epstein's plane, for example. And you talk about shutting somebody up permanently. That's how they do it.
To the grotto stays the grotto.
Okay.
Look, it's pretty simple if you think about it. To control the population, you have to control the people messaging the population. Some of these stars have 20, 30 million followers. That's more followers than CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC. These people have to be controlled. They can't just go off the message and start saying whatever they want to say. They have to be somewhat reined in. They have to be controlled, or they do not get the platform to have the voice that they have.
Talk to me now. Talk to me now. Talk to me now. Now, this is the doorway that we talking about when we started this video about Diddy. This is the doorway. This is where you get the handlers and the things of that nature right here. You feel me? These are why they're called influencers. You know what I mean? They're not there by chance. It's not by chance Beyonce got 15.4 million followers and all the marketing budget behind her. She ain't the best singer in the motherfucking world. We just seen her country album flop like no other. They got money. These are strategically placed motherfucking people into the industry. Believe me, they've been handpicked and they've been cherry picked to get into these platforms and to be on these stages and to be the ultra wealthy that we know.
This country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
That man said it's called the American dream. It's called the American dream because you got to be asleep to believe it. Who used to really buy into the fact that you got to wait till you're 60 years old to stop working and enjoy the fruits of your labor and spend all your money and die 10 years later? The American dream, huh? The American dream.
Look at the bigger picture and you check out for a minute and you kind of compare the ancient times to today. Well, back then they had like what, demigods and gods. They were like Achilles, Hercules, Apollo, Mercury. All these were demigods. And that's who the people in those days looked up to. Well, today we have all these people like Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry. In film, we have Brad Pitt, Will Smith. We have all these big stars. And the way they prop them up and they put them up on stage is like they're gods or demigods.
Most people don't want to.
All these motherfuckers in here, pedophiles, all of these motherfuckers in here on that weird shit. Look, they whispering in each other's ears and shit. It's an inside joke, right? It's an inside joke. They all pedophiles. The whole industry knows. It's just like P. Diddy. How you mean to tell me all these years P. Diddy been doing all this shit, beating Cassie up, doing all this shit, and ain't nobody said nothing. Here come his bodyguard want to get on this shit right here and expose him after the fact, but he just as guilty, right? You wasn't doing nothing to stop the shit when the shit was happening, but here you is getting a paycheck off the interview now after the fact, and you trying to say you said you did this, man, miss me with all that. But at the end of the day, you know, the people, the powers that be, they batted an eye to this shit. They look past, just like they look past the pedophilia. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out P. Diddy be fucking with them little boys too.
Psychological line that this stuff is going on. And we all have a mental defense mechanism. It's like finally admitting there's an elite pedophile ring. I mean, most people just don't want to go there. And the same is here. Psychologically, you lose your safety, your security, and whatever innocence you have when you realize that this stuff is really going on. And it's a chore to cross over that barrier and realize, oh my gosh, this stuff is really happening. And that's why it takes critical thinking. The people have got to look at this stuff critically and see what they're being fed so they can cross that psychological line that they just refuse to see it.
Do you motherfuckers even know what critical thinking is? I wonder how many of y'all out there even realize that you have a critical thinking faculty of your brain critical thinking is probably one of the best skills you could have, you know, and it comes with critical thinking comes questioning authority as well. You got to always question authority, question why shit is the way it is. Because believe me, there's a reason for everything. And the narrative and the story and all the stuff that you believe has been taught to you for a reason. It's like you go to school for the elementary system and they never teach you how to balance the checkbook. They never teach you about credit. They never teach you about starting a business, being independent. But no, you go to school and they teach you to put your hand up and who's right and who's wrong. And you go from that job, from that school in elementary, high school, into a college where you become in debt, and then you become a 9-to-5 worker and you're forever in debt to the motherfucking machine that is.
It's right in front of them.
When Kevin said there's an elite pedophile ring, well, I'm thinking to myself, this is a hard thing for me to come to terms with. Now, it made me start thinking about conversations and things I'd heard, but I never saw it. It's not out in the open. And to me, I was like,
and for Bill O'Reilly.
See, I'm gonna leave it right there. If y'all want to watch this shit right here, y'all can hit this website right here. It's archive.org. Details Out of the Shadows. You see the name of this Out of the Shadows documentary. I ain't gonna go into all this extra shit right here. I just wanted to break down the narrative behind motherfucking Hollywood and who's behind Hollywood and that door that all these motherfuckers got to enter like P. Diddy. There ain't no way it's by chance that motherfucking Diddy just got to rise to fame and then did all this shit over all these decades and ain't nobody cracked him until now. He done did something to somebody. He done pissed some people off, and his fall from grace is terrible right here. And to think that a man worth billions of dollars is now sitting in jail on his way to doing a damn near a life sentence behind his sexual urges, right? The man behind his sexual deviancy. The man is about to do a life sentence, and he had everything that everybody would want, right? He got all these kids, families, but it's going to come out though. He done had his hand in the murder of Tupac, might have had his hand in the murder of Biggie, might have had the hand in the murder of his own wife, Kim Porter. I mean, Diddy done went out bad, but you know, a lot of the OGs from the 90s generation that then went out terrible. R. Kelly, I mean, all these motherfuckers. It's sad. Dame Dash, just watching these motherfuckers crumble. Nobody's been able to carry the ball, and it's a sad story. But you know, I hope y'all got a little bit of information out of this. I just want to put this out to the world, let some people get some awareness out of this shit right here. You know, if you're messing with the video, hit me with that like. Let's get the video in the algorithm, get it out to some more people that can understand what's going on out here. And you know, sub up if you ain't subbed up. But I'm out for the night. Y'all have a good one.